Buddies, welcome to Nashville, the Tower Chrysler Studios in our palatial estates here at, well, we can't say because we start telling people where we are.
It
and
becomes a security issue.
It's going to be fans coming down here and women.
They want to touch Pinder's hair.
Remember when the Beatles came to North America for the first time? We can't do that all over again.
We can't.
It was
do
chaos.
That. I was saying there's Frank Seravalli, who will join us in a moment, so shush. There's Pinder at the end. There's Retro, and for the first time maybe ever, we're in a better spot than you. We're used to sitting in some dank studio, and you're in Florida, or some.
He's here. He's in Nashville.
You're in Saskatoon? Regina?
I'm in the tune. I'm in the tune.
It's
hot. Beautiful out tune.
Yeah, I think we win. We win.
You might win. You might win.
We'll take the win.
And just that, as a side note, I decided not to drive back because I was going to save a bunch of time in flying.
Yeah.
I saved about 6 hours. So.
Really? That much?
Now, was it Friday? You packed the gear and the kids, got into the vehicle, and you were going to drive for make a 3-day trek. You made it 7 minutes. You turned around and went back home. 7 minutes. Yeah.
Well, but 14, right? Because 7 there. And then
that's right. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's on me. Sorry. So then, was it you and the boys flying, or just you?
Yep, I got 2 boys with me, same as in the car ride.
Yeah,
there's 2 boys with me. So
there were 3 of you involved in that cluster F from 2 days ago.
Yeah. So no luggage still no luggage.
Oh no, well, what do you need that for? You don't need that shit. You don't need that. So Monday you go, because we had you on the show, the shoveler driving 160 drops you off at the airport, and how long before you know you're effed?
We were early for drop off because of the speed and acceleration of the shoveler. So we were a little bit early, probably an hour and a half before the flight. We were informed it was knocked back a couple hours. Okay, well, we're in no rush. That's fine. And then it was another hour. And then it was another hour. And then it was 3 more hours. So we did leave technically on Monday.
Right.
It's a lot of hours there, Rhett. That must have been frustrating for,
We were saved, but we were saved. I got the card to get into the lounge, so we were in the lounge. So free food, sweet and sour meatballs, rice, delicious, absolutely amazing stuff.
Yeah, sweet and sour, so good. Well, we are here in Nashville today. It's a weird setup.
Anything going on today?
Wednesday, round 1. Frank Seravalli will join us. We're here in the Tower Chrysler Studios. I checked in with Serge. It's like, Toffoli's gone. Are you okay? Serge says, "Hey, it's about getting younger. Got to get younger. Got to make some tough decisions." So he and Craig are on the same page. Serge at Tower Chrysler, Southern Alberta's favorite Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep dealer. Just ask anybody; they'll tell you it's their favorite. Frank Seravalli is our NHL insider. You've been busy just doing show after show. We appreciate you for hanging out. Frank Seravalli, off-season Frank. It was playoff Frank. Now you're off-season Frank. A presentation of Bonton Meat Market. 28 Crowfoot Circle Northwest, bontonmeatmarket.com. Greg Keller treats you right. It's summertime. If you're not putting quality meat on your grill, what are you doing?
The fact that you guys didn't smuggle me any Bonton meats across the border is
tough.
Bullshit.
We had weed and gummies and all kinds of stuff, but they cared more about the beef. So sorry, Frank. Sorry about that.
I mean, my priorities are in order, though.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me.
Well, we're in good shape, and we look cool.
Once we get that new rink and we have a draft in Calgary, as long as you can wait that out, we'll have a nice
when's that, 2000 and never?
I feel like probably 4 or 5 years. That sound about right? Come on, people. Let's get going here.
Yeah, any day now. Yeah, any day.
Not getting any younger.
So I know you were talking about it. You guys did your show prior to this, but for people that didn't watch that or only watching this, I guess let's get into the Toffoli deal from yesterday. It came down. Ryan and I were getting off a plane and then onto a plane pretty much as it happened. Yegor Sharangovich. Rhett, do you like a little Sharangovich in your life? How do you feel?
It feels good to me. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? All in on the Sharangovich.
Yeah, it's delicious. Yeah, put a little mayo on there, some mustard, delicious. There it is. The Frank Seravalli tweet. Did you break? Was that a Frank bomb? Did you break that trade?
No, the team announced that one.
Shit. Tyler Toffoli for Yegor Sharangovich and a 3rd-round pick in tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow will be round number 3 if they hang on to that pick. Now, Retro, and I'm not looking to. Did you know that there was a man named Yegor Sharangovich?
I did not know there was a man named Yaron Sher. Yeah,
That's the one.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah,
Simpson, Swanson.
yeah, Slippy,
Samsonite.
Slappy.
Swami.
Yeah.
and when I first saw it, I'm like, what in the F? But I don't know. It sounds like it's not as out of left field as maybe I originally thought.
I thought it was Jonas Siegenthaler at the beginning. I'm like, there's your D. All right, Hanifin's minutes. Let's go. And then I was like, oh, that's not the same guy at all.
No, a lot of letters. Wrong guy.
S, vowels.
So you know how all those people that criticize all the media in the East saying, oh, you guys don't watch anyone past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, the East Coast bias. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had no idea.
West Coast bias. Yeah.
No, some of us. I'm
You
sorry.
guys aren't big Devils fans, I guess.
Guess not.
We saw them twice early last year as Flames spectators, and that was it. And they certainly looked better, but you were kind of wondering if the bubble would burst.
Yeah,
and,
could they keep it going?
and I guess to get back to Sharangovich, he sort of tumbled a bit down the depth chart there last year. Is that how you see the drop in numbers from year 2 to year 3?
That's part of it. The team's gotten better, and so when everyone was healthy, he was playing a third line role, and also with the production he's had, as you see the new contract he signed, 2 times $3.1 million. They had to give him a raise. They're trying to get Timo Meier done,
Right.
hopefully today. I'm told that he's somewhere in the 8 times 8.25, 85 range, somewhere in that neighborhood. So Timo Meier is looking at a really expensive next contract, and at least in the short term, the Devils feel like they can add in Tyler Toffoli coming off of a career year, get, some of these playmakers that they have, get them some finishers. And it makes sense from their perspective to seize on Toffoli's last year of his deal at a bargain 4.25?
Yeah,
like he's in a great spot. So, look, I think Flames fans in general, the reaction seemed to be that they were underwhelmed by the return, because they're thinking, okay, maybe this is an avenue to get in the first round. And in a different scenario for a different team, it probably would have been an opportunity to get in the first round. But if you're adding a pick in the 25 to 32 range, that's not helping your team for a long time. And I think the Flames have been really clear that they want to try and compete next season, and getting someone like Sharangovich that you can plug into your lineup and have him for a few years, that certainly suited them more so than the late first round pick.
Were we crazy to think, looking back on it now, that I think our eyes were big, is that Toffoli, you get a first and what else? And then you see the Taylor Hall trade, and then you see the Kevin Hayes trade. Some of the older guys, now granted, I don't think the production is what Tyler Toffoli had, but a lot of those guys were basically going for free.
Kevin Hayes had a career year.
So I'm
6th rounder. And they're eating half.
Yeah. I mean, that's eating a turd burger.
Yeah. So what was your expectation if a Toffoli deal was going to get done, say before the draft? What was your impression, I guess, of the return, player and pick?
Honestly, I think it's fine. It's not lighting the world on fire, but they clearly like Sharangovich and like the fit of him. And the fact that you upgrade your skating, I think, is a big one. He's got some speed. Like, that's the one thing that's really stood out to me about the Flames watching them the last few years, is they're one of the slower teams in the league. And not only that, they really didn't have any speed on the wings.
Yeah.
And now, especially if you think Sharangovich might, be able to play some center for you, you have a versatile piece that you can do some different things with that. I don't know. Look, it's never going to be a perfect situation and scenario. The Flames, for Toffoli hitting the numbers that he did last year, you weren't going to perfectly slot in a guy to replace those numbers. Yeah. But teams are probably expecting Toffoli to regress closer to his career norms that we've seen over the last 10 years, that you have an idea of where he is in the NHL. And he's probably not a consistent 75-point player.
And it's one of those things too. Because I had said, I thought if there was anybody that you would take into the season and maybe trade closer to the deadline, it was Toffoli. You roll the dice, and then all of a sudden he's a step slower or gets injured, and then you end up getting nothing for him, or a 5th or 6th round pick or something. then everyone's going to be sour. Well, why didn't you trade this guy in the offseason? He was coming off a career year. That was the time to pounce. It's always very, it's that Monday morning quarterback hindsight.
He also asked out too, right? And Ritt's been talking about, if guys don't want to be around, get rid of them. Don't let this fester. The room is something you have to solve. Don't leave a guy in there that wants out. I feel like that was a part of this as well.
Especially for a team that I think was pretty fractured last year.
Pretty.
And I don't think he was at all any of the root or the problem. It's just that I think there was a lot of frustration and friction all over that locker room. And part of it was coming from, dealing with Darryl. Part of it is, I just think you guys heard Nazem Kadri say it. He was on my pod. When are the Flames going to make the playoffs? Answer: when we start playing like a team. There clearly was something missing last year. And I kind of like that Craig Conroy addressed it right away. Rip the Band-Aid off. Let's get something for Tyler Toffoli, and let's begin to move this team forward instead of sitting back and being hijacked and handcuffed by the agents and the player trying to tell you where to send them. Just make the deal. Yeah. Get it over with.
Jack, can you bring up the Sharon Govich stats there from Hockey DB? Because I wonder, it sounds kind of dumb, if you take away the 2022-23 season, and here's a guy that goes from 16 goals to 24 goals. If you're feeling a little bit better about it, I think there's a lot. It's like, well, what's the drop? Why the drop in ice time and responsibility? Obviously not much there in the way of playoff points or games. To go from 24 to 13, if he was a 24 goal guy that was 24 coming in, you feel a lot better, I think, if you're
probably don't get him in this trade, to be fair.
Not.
Like a guy that went 13 or 16-24, like that.
Even though he's still the guy that did it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel.
And so if you want to be upset about the deal, you look at the 13 goals and say, what the hell's going on? He's only going to work on a team that's not contending. He fell down the depth chart. If you want to like this deal, you say, man, he's a year removed from being a rising star in this league. He flies, he shoots at a ton. I mean, you can pick what you want here, depending to fit your emotions, right?
The criticism, I think, that for me or from Flames fans and stuff we've discussed is, I don't dislike the trade, and I think when you look at his stats, you think it's all right in the third round, sure. And I think Frank is probably, because he's not stuck in the mud, he's got a better indication or idea of what is truly going on with the Flames as far as they're going to try and be competitive this year. That's where the criticisms can come in, is if your opinion was, let's completely revamp, then this doesn't suit that mold. And that return,
if that's
right?
The case, right?
That's the difference. And that would be my criticism.
Yeah, I would say, here's the thing though. A lot of people were wondering, are the Flames going to be forced into a rebuild given all of these pieces that are in play? And I think this is the first real indication that we have, not that we suspected anything to the alternative, that's of no interest to them. And that's been their MO for 15, 20 years. Like, we know that's not the case, but we got confirmation now, the sort of first step in the new tenure and new era of Craig Conroy.
So if that's the case, would you expect an all futures Hanifin deal, or does that not fit their MO?
I think in a perfect world, they'd find some piece to plug into their blue line if they can. That's easier said than done, and it's probably more of a futures deal. But I just want to let you know, I did check in this morning. I don't think the Flames are anywhere on the Noah Hanifin front right now. And in fact, I don't think they have anything front burner after getting the Sharon Govich extension done.
And that sort
not
of
to say that can't change.
Echoes what we heard from some other insiders this morning. Is that an issue? I mean, I keep thinking about this draft class and how rare it is. We can only guess at this point, but it looks to be at this point a special one. If they miss this opportunity with all these assets, they are going to move it and don't add another first. Is that a failure of sorts?
Tell me what they get, and then I'll tell you if it's a fit. Like, first off, I think one thing that people lose sight of is the fact that, especially as Craig Conroy is putting all these different pieces together, that a lot of these trades and transactions are interlocking or moving the pieces around the board. And what you see right now might not be the finished product. Yeah. That's one part of it. The other part too is, like, because you're valuing the first round picks the way you say you are, that's a really good indication that other teams that hold those picks are also valuing them pretty similarly.
Yep.
So
there's 11 that have moved by my count. So it's still happening, right?
4 of them were in the 2022 trade deadline. And the rest of them, like, we haven't seen a top 10 pick move.
Yeah, I wouldn't see. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
I think we are going to have some kind of movement. I would think today on the draft board, at least a team like the Montreal Canadiens is certainly considering it. I think they have 5 different offers and options on the table that they're weighing today. But to your point about the mid to late first round picks, they're going to move, but they're going to be for significant impact roster players. And could the Flames pull off a deal like that for Hanifin? Absolutely. Do they value that first round pick the way you do? Or I had a cup of coffee this morning with an NHL executive who said it's wild to me how overrated fan bases and media think first round picks are.
Yeah.
Because once you get past pick number 14, you're dealing with like coin flips.
I think 20 to 30 over the last 25, 30 years has been like a 50-50 that you play even just 200 games, never mind be a star. Yeah.
So then are you better off this is what teams wrestle with. Are you better off getting a player, even if it's not as good as Hanifin, but someone that you can maybe continue to grow and build versus a coin flip that may or may not even make it to the NHL, let alone in 4 to 5 years?
We talked about it off and on. The Jacob Trouba in Winnipeg situation. They had to sit on Jacob Trouba. He wanted out for a while. They make that trade. Pionk is part of the return that comes back. He's not as good as the player he's replacing, but he's a serviceable guy for them.
No one even knew who he was.
Yeah.
In Winnipeg, they're like, Neil Pionk, who is that?
Yeah.
They got first 2, did they not? It was in Pionk in the first.
I guess I'm just thinking in terms of a body coming back.
Yeah.
It's not as good, but it's not as though there's no value to it.
So let's take a look at the Hanifin thing. And let's say so one of the teams that's been connected to them about Hanifin is the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
What happens if you got a package that included Duclair and something to start? Just as a starting point.
I don't love the Duclair as a start because you're essentially replacing one UFA that doesn't want to be here for a guy that may be the same thing in a year. Like, I don't feel like it's a placeholder for a year.
If you have an indication from Duclair's agent that he's Duclair is his own agent actually, that he's willing to re-sign.
Yeah.
The magic that he was able to create with Jonathan Huberdeau, maybe that same thing exists. I don't know. All I'm saying is, if you're looking to get a piece back, you have to consider the roster situation of the team you're making the deal with. The Florida Panthers, if they get their hands on Hanifin, they don't have a D-man to send back to you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on something you mentioned there. About the Flames clearly still wanting to compete. Is that intel, or are you basing that off of the return from this Toffoli deal?
No, that's intel. Like, this team is not. First off, I've said it before. When you have Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar and Nazem Kadri and even just the term remaining on Jacob Markstrom's deal, you're not bottoming out.
Right.
So as opposed to trying to remain sort of in this, we're walking a tightrope. We want some futures. We want to compete. We want to try and, get better, spend less. Like, it's like, what are you, the Vancouver Canucks?
It didn't work well.
Trying to do everything at one time.
Yeah.
Set your sights on something and go and tackle it. And the Flames, we think this team underachieved last year. We know we need to make some moves with pieces, and we're going to try and parlay those into getting better. And that's not speculation on my part. That's intel. But you're at the mercy now, if you're the Flames, of where some of these players want to go, because Lindholm, if it gets to that point, and just so everyone's clear, there's a number of teams that I talked to in the last 24 hours that have called Craig Conroy to inquire about Elias Lindholm and have been told, thanks for calling, duly noted, but I'll contact you if something changes, but our intention is to sign this player. So they haven't engaged in trade talks, to my knowledge, to move him. And they're going to be at the mercy of potentially Hanifin or whoever it might be. He might say, I only want to go to just pulling a name out of the hat, the Detroit Red Wings. It's the only place you want to play.
So all that's fine and good, except there's something wrong with the room. You're going to try and bring everyone back and stay competitive, and it's not worked for you in the past.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think they're bringing everyone back.
Yeah, well, you got 3 to 4 deletions, right?
You got rid of Toffoli, who wasn't part of the problem in the room, from what we can all determine. Was Hannafin part of the problem in the room?
I mean, we don't know, but we're
we're
speculating here. Yeah.
Because I'm with you. I think that I'm at the point now. I'll be surprised if a Hannafin thing gets done here today, even though he was kind of the first guy out of the gate to say, I'm not going to re-sign. I'm not coming back or signing long-term type of a deal. Now Toffoli's gone. Like I said before, I thought maybe if there was a guy that would go to the deadline, it would be him. We're back to where we were talking about before. How concerned are you, knowing that the room is fractured, to use your word, to bring everybody back and expect a different result, or at the very least, just to have them coexist until you can make the changes that you want to make?
Yeah, my frustration is take the room out of it. I think it's clearly a part of it, but if it's a dangerous game to play and that's not our job to speculate on how room works, that's fine. To me, it's more the marching orders have remained the same. Can this team perform better? I guess. That's to me, it's again not a game plan. Their game plan fell apart when Gaudreau decided to leave, Tkachuk wanted to leave, and they lost all those, and Monahan got hurt, and Bennett didn't turn out. That was where they built something. Now, I feel like you're, again, inserting pieces and trying to move this piece, put this one in. It's fine. And you might be competitive and be close enough and maybe get a playoff spot. It doesn't feel like an approach that some of those teams that we watch, like Tampa, Chicago in the 2000s, where they put a real game plan and maybe suffered a little bit to finally get to a point where they were good for a long time.
It's tough because this is an owner's MO given to the GM.
How many times have I said it?
Mm-hmm.
You can only be as good as your owner allows you to be, meaning the parameters that you're given to operate under. Why do the Vancouver Canucks make the same mistake time after time after time? It's not the 4 regime changes that they've had. What's the one constant?
The owner, yeah.
And so I think that has been continually the push from Flames ownership, is to compete. And as a fan, the patch job approach might be frustrating, but another conversation that I had with an NHL executive this morning was like, why don't people push back on the idea of a rebuild? A full-scale, tear it down to the studs rebuild. Name one team that's successfully done it.
I mean,
Tampa Bay.
Define it, but
has actually pulled the entire thing off and won.
Like, you know what? You'd have to get into it, and every situation would be unique. But the difference between intentionally tearing it down or just you suck for so long. Look at
the San Jose Sharks.
Well, but I'm just looking at teams that Chicago was real bad, and then they picked high and picked first overall and got Kane, and then they started winning. And Tampa they were terrible. And they drafted well, and then Stamkos at one.
Not deliberate; those were accidental. And then you had Stamkos and Hedman, and holy shit, oh my God, we were able to build a team around them.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing.
Well, we'll see with Arizona down the road because they've done it. Buffalo screwed it up, but again, I think that was anyway, management decision.
Was the last time the Detroit Red Wings made the playoffs. I don't know if you know, but next
How
year,
were they before that?
Say that again, Rhett?
How were they before that?
Yeah, they made the playoffs for quarter of a century.
25 consecutive years.
Yeah. We get it. Yeah. No, I get your point, Frank, but I think also there's just this fatigue in the market with this short-sighted approach.
How do you know? Hold on. How do you know what short-sighted is? How do you know what Craig Conroy's vision is?
Oh, I'm not talking about Craig. I'm talking about the owner saying, like, it's very important to make the playoffs here. Like, I think that this fan base will be ready for one step back to take 2 forward. I don't think the owner is. You know what I mean?
I get it. All I'm saying is there is risk in that.
Of course there is. Yeah.
Because then you could take a step back and never get forward again for 6 more years.
I think that would, like, you look at Buffalo, that's a nightmare. The only thing worse I can think of is being capped out and old and not good. And that's what this team, I feel it was dangerously teetering on here. If you sign Lindholm to an 8-year deal, and like, I just see a lot of guys in their mid-30s making too much money. And if you're not competitive, you can't weaponize cap space. You're not picking high. I mean, it's quite a conundrum that they're in here, because they really are trying to do two things at once: this be competitive and get younger.
Frank, we'll let you get out of here. It's a busy day for you. Anything that you can? What are you hearing? Is there anything you're kind of circling around here as we are midday in Nashville, just hours away from round 1?
I'm fascinated by the draft board because, look, I mentioned the Montreal Canadiens and number 5 and the different options that they're weighing. I'm fascinated to see where Michkov goes. Look, it's one of those situations where I think the Jets and all that they have on the table still, the Flames have work to do, even though I mentioned I don't think anything's front burner. The Flyers, like, they're still in full teardown mode. They're going to be moving out pieces, and they really want to get back into the first round with another pick. There's a lot that I think is going to play out over the next 6 hours here. I
said it was the last one. The Dubois, 3 players and a pick for Dubois with the extension. Would Lindholm bring something similar? If you got him signed to that 8-year extension to another team, would you be getting 3? Again, what?
Well, you can't
Kupari was a former
sign him to the extension is the problem.
Right, July 1. I get that.
Right.
I guess but if that's
is that
deal potentially?
I think Lindholm has the potential to bring back more than that.
Okay.
And I would say, like, I don't want to say significantly more, but I think it's the Flames, if they get to the point where they're moving him, then they're in for a haul.
Yeah.
So and just on the surface, Dubois a little bit younger, but a little bit of a higher ceiling with Lindholm. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, depending on who you talk to, a lot of teams do think that that he's someone that has a higher ceiling to get to.
Poor Frank trying to do.
You got a Frank bomb for us here?
Trying to be
breaking news here?
By
all means.
Let me just see here.
So exciting.
So sorry, my train of thought. I'm totally lost.
Dubois, Lindholm, yeah.
I was saying I wasn't overwhelmed by the package. You know, people were sort of building it up as a haul, and this is what's happening. By the way, confirming Timo Meier re-signing with the New Jersey Devils, 8 years, $70.4 million. So
wow.
That's what I was waiting on.
So that's 8 and change per.
8 times 8.8.
It's Red Warner money.
What's interesting about that deal is it actually changes the structure of the Devils cap, because Jack Hughes was, you've got a new high water mark, and it's really kind of rare to see players, especially from the outside, come in and then you see Meier not have any playoff success to then step up and say, okay, Jack Hughes, probably our best player. Oh, wait, we just paid this guy more than you.
Also nice when you get Jack Hughes at the number you did. That's probably a part of it too.
Yeah.
He's worth more than that on the market today.
Well,
we know that.
It was one of those deals, Tyler. We talked about this on Daily Faceoff Live. That situation where we were like, hey, 8 times 8 for Jack Hughes. Why'd they have to do that so early? And then you see why.
Yeah. I got a final one, sort of less hockey and more about your job with the Professional Hockey Writers Association. Obviously a lot of attention, especially in Alberta, on the non-McDavid number 1 pick for the Hart. Someone had him 5th on the ballot. Do you care? Is that bad press for you, or is it just part of having hundreds of people voting?
Look, it's part of having hundreds of people voting. Do I agree with his ballot? Seth Rohrbaugh from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review? No, I don't. Obviously, I voted McDavid, and I think it wasn't even close in terms of who the most valuable player in the league is. But I think I've seen all the calls on social media, revoke his credentials, don't give him a ballot. Someone tweeted at him yesterday and said, man, you were a couple days late getting on the sub going to the Titanic. Too soon for that joke.
Feels soon.
But that's where we're at. And I think you get into a dangerous position, and we've seen this socially and everywhere else in the world, when you start telling people what to think and how to vote. And that's the exact reason why we do vote, is for people to express their differences of opinion. If we all thought the same, what's the point in voting at all? So do I have an issue with it? Nope. Is there anything coming for Seth in terms of a punt? Not even, never something that we would consider.
Does he owe an explanation?
I think you should provide one. Yeah. I think that's the point of being transparent, is the opportunity to engage in debate and discussion. And seems like the perfect time for him to write a column in the Trib saying, here's what my thought process was. I had a chance to catch up with him for 5 minutes yesterday, and I said, hey, what happened? And he can tell his story, but he said, essentially, if the vote was best player in the league or most outstanding player, he goes, it's not even close. It's McDavid. He said, I just feel like with some of the other help that he has and Draisaitl and some other pieces, that he's not the most valuable player to his team. He was a very literal letter of the law voter.
Yeah.
And just like with any text, it's how you interpret it. And that's how he viewed it. And again, I didn't agree clearly, but at least make your case and make us think.
Who goes at 2 tonight?
I think it's Fantilli, but I got to tell you, their scouts have been absolutely buzzing the last 24 hours about the idea of Michkov going at 2.
It'll be a cool.
Would Pat Verbeek pull a Steve Yzerman and just walk to the podium and essentially flip everyone the bird and do it?
It'll be a cool buzz in the building if it happens.
No kidding. Yeah.
Right? It would be amazing.
Were you guys in Montreal last year?
No.
Tyler and I were sitting there in the first, right in the risers, and we looked at each other like the buzz in this building when Shane Wright did not go number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in Montreal for the host team having the number 1 pick. There were audible gasps and boos, and it was a pretty awesome place to be.
And then the stink eye, which I also appreciate, the Shane Wright stink eye down to the hat. Frank Seravalli, our NHL Insider Daily Face-Off. We'll let you get after it here.
Just thumbing out a tweet here.
Nice.
Break that news.
Busy dude.
Frank Bomb.
See what I can come up with.
There you go. Bonton Meat Market, the original Bonton Meat Market, opened its doors in 1921. All they've done since then is give the best treatment to the best customers. Free-range poultry, Alberta beef, AAA Alberta beef, Alberta lamb, milk-fed veal, fresh Alberta pork, and once again voted Calgary Consumer Choice Award winner for Best Deli Meat Market. 28 Crowfoot Circle Northwest, and actually you got Greg from Bonton was texting me here.
Tell him to send me a care package.
You're not going to like that. Now, it's sending it is the issue. I could have given you meat for Frank, as you're allowed a limited amount for personal consumption.
That feels like a shot.
I think he's talking about meat. I'm not sure what else would fall into that category.
Personal consumption. Huh?
Yeah. All right, buddy. We'll let you go. No breaks. We'll just
get out of here, fatty.
Rhett doesn't. No, you're good. Rhett doesn't like taking.
Thank you, Frank.
Rhett likes to roll. So yeah, you know what? For what it's worth, I checked in with Craig this morning as well, and his kind of verbiage to me was he's kind of surprised, I guess, at the lack of traction right now, and they're focused
with
on
Hanifin, you're saying,
or just with anything.
Okay,
they're just focused on making draft picks tonight. That's where they're at.
Well, and look, you can't dictate what other people are going to offer.
That's the thing.
You just hope that it's not, hey, this is a green GM, no one give him a real offer, because if that's the case, well, don't hire a green GM, or at least, wait a while. It's a tough spot for him.
And as we've talked about, I think that there will be agents that'll be trying to squeeze him a little bit. There's going to be GMs thinking, why would let's see if we can squeeze him a little bit here.
Test him. Yeah.
The main wrinkle is, and you've talked about it a lot, is how good this draft class is expected to be.
Yeah.
Do you take a little less potentially in a package if it gets you a better pick today? Because then down the road, you look back and could you hit a home run today in a deal that's maybe less, but you get that draft pick or a higher pick than what's on the table right now? I don't know.
Yeah. And look, dude, is this organization, given what we just heard from Frank, okay with, let's say they make a trade with Buffalo and a pick in the teens as the principal piece coming back, and then some shrapnel that covers the roster for a year or two? Like, I would love that. If you have 2 cuts in the teens in this draft, you could have 2 franchise pillars. You could swing and miss, but does that fit the marching orders that Craig's been given for this roster this year? Those guys aren't going to help for 2 years.
And see, I'm not to say that Frank's wrong or that he's got bad intel. I don't. My understanding is that he hasn't been given those marching orders. That this is very much this is a turning over of the roster, and we can handle it in a number of ways. One is try and get right back to where we are, or get some futures. I'm kind of led to believe that there isn't a we must make the playoffs this year mandate, despite the guys you still have with contracts. I think Frank had said you've got Kadri and Huberdeau and those guys, but you can't control that right now. Those contracts are bought and paid for. You can try and move them, but they're in. Does that, because you have three guys with those contracts, does that change and alter the course of your franchise right now?
No, I mean, I'm just more talking philosophically where the owner's at. And look, here's the thing. You might get futures for Hanifin, and you got a bit of present and future with the Toffoli deal. You might get some younger players for Backlund. And, if Lindholm doesn't sign, that package could be players. We're going to need to see this full body of work for the offseason before we can really get a strong sense of what Connie is trying to do here. And maybe one deal is all futures and the other is all roster players. I don't think it's this binary thing where every deal has to be this type of deal. You know what I mean?
Where are you at right now, Retro? I mean,
frozen or deep?
No. Are you? Because I don't think the Toffoli deal does anything. You are trading him, and clearly the market is what it is. To me, it's the Lindholm thing. If you're in on Lindholm, you're in for big money and long term.
Yeah.
And if you're out, then you obviously get the best you can. Is that right now or after July? I don't know. Probably the extension, to Frank's point. You get if somebody is going to pay more, 8-year extension, you can't sign that.
I also think if Elias Lindholm goes to a contender, every single team's going to fall into that $5 to $7 million of cap space next year. I don't know that anyone that brings him is going to have a tough time signing him, so long as it's a place he wants to be, which I don't think you're trading him to a contender, not a rebuilding team, right?
And I've asked you this before, Retro, that we believe that the Bo Horvat is a good comparable.
Yeah. Is the Meyer deals in the similar spot? It's winger to center. It's not the same age, but we've seen a lot of those deals now in that between 8 and 9, and the cap is set to start growing again to the point where you're going to be over 90 in 2 years, and that's less than 10% of your cap for a number one center.
And then on the other hand, we talk how great it is to have cap space.
Yeah.
Isn't it great to be that team that can be a landing spot for picks and a landing spot for cap space?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, well, if you pay him $8.5 million, the cap's going up and the percentage of the cap goes down. I just
think about Kevin Hayes. Like, if you had cap space and you knew Lindholm wasn't working here, you could have brought in a guy that can play legit top 6 forward minutes at a cap hit of 3-something for a 6th rounder. Little things like that, not a ton of cap space allows you to do so much. You could have had Taylor Hall for free. These are all the things Connie's got to balance, right? It's a really, really, really complex thing he's looking at here.
100%. I have a tough time understanding the read if Frank is right and Connie's saying, thanks for calling, but we're not listening. To me, that's wrong. But
no, I think he was saying, well, we need to hear an answer from Elias, and then I'll call you if it's not signing. Right now, we're waiting for him to give us an answer, and if the answer is no, we'll call you right back.
But wouldn't you want to know? Theoretically, let's assume.
No, you're right. Absolutely, that's a very good point.
What does a package look like? And maybe that is happening.
I would assume that is happening. That no deal is moving forward, but you certainly would gauge what he's worth.
I just don't have. I
don't have a good feel on it, and I don't like it because Lindholm to me is a heck of a player, and you do want to keep him. It's more in the fact that you're in win mode. You're in win now mode, and you can say, well, he's a number one center, and if he's at Horvat's, is he a number one center in 3 years? And then you got 3 or 4 more guys, and you got a whole crew of guys in that 33 plus age group still getting paid a lot of money, and you can have kids come up and take over. It just seems more complicated to me. And again, I wish Lindholm is not the guy I want to get rid of, but he's such an asset. I think anyway, it makes it muddier to me, the fact that they're trying to keep him.
I agree. And look, if you're keeping him, it's like, well, shit, we should probably try to keep Backlund because now we have that 1, 2, 3 down the middle that we like.
Yeah, you want that depth.
If you're buying on competitive, now you're talking to yourself like maybe we don't take first rounders for Hanifin. We can get this 23-year-old D-man that will be a top 4 in a year or two. Like I don't like the path because it's too short-sighted. And what Rhett's always said is like we need a plan. Like give us a 5-year vision. I don't know if Connie's allowed to do that. And even if he was or wasn't, he wouldn't tell you. Like, Brad Living was here for 9 years. Did he ever say anything negative about the owner? No. Like, you don't run your boss. It doesn't mean that it isn't difficult. You just don't say anything. But yeah, I don't think this group's any closer to having here's what we are in 5 years.
That's the scary part.
Yes.
To me. Like, and wow. With the Hanifin, there's the unrestricted free agency thing, like there's not a ton of superstar guys that everyone's jumping. But if you wanted to fill a spot on the blue line, just look at there's enough guys that you could target. Right? Yeah, if Hanifin leaves.
Go find another $1 million, $2 million third pair guy. You could piece it together.
And I get Frank's point to a point about if you're going to go full scorched earth rebuild, it doesn't guarantee you shit.
It's true.
It guarantees you're probably going to be bad and you might pick high in the draft, but it does not mean let's be bad for 3 years and then we'll win a cup in year 5.
Yeah, but and I guess we're stuck in the history of it. And Frank, everyone's opinion is valid, and everyone's approach is. There's points to all of it. I think from the Flames fans' perspective, from my perspective, since 1989. There's a short stint of winning, and other than that, it's been back and forth, not really good, and then bad, and picking in this awkward. Pinder said it the other day. You've never drafted a top 3 pick ever. Aren't we the only franchise that hasn't done that? Like you've never been able to hang your hat on an Austin Matthews pick, on a Connor Bedard pick. On a Connor McDavid pick. So that's all fine and good to try and remain competitive. And like I just said, any approach is fine and any approach has risk. So Frank, to argue Frank's point, well, what's the risk of sticking with this group? Hasn't done well last year. So you're going to keep adding pieces to that?
That's what I've been saying.
It's a hell of a lot of risk there.
Yeah, you're not tossing away a winning formula to hopefully get young and contend. It's broken. You aren't winning on the ice, and it's clearly things aren't right off the ice.
Yeah, but you're so close. I mean, if they get 10 more saves, they might be in. Like that's the thing.
But they're so close to what?
To getting into the crapshoot tournament. And I'm not here to tell you they're going to win a cup. Like I'm with you, Rhett. Like I look at cup winners and I'm like, okay, Ovechkin went first. Stamkos went 1, Hedman 2, franchise goalie that they got in the first round. I look at, Taves goes 1, Patrick Kane top 3, Kane goes 1. Like every team that wins a cup has 1 or 2 of these top 5 guys with very few exceptions. Like maybe St. Louis and Vegas, and even Vegas, they bought low on an injured Jack Eichel that hadn't played in a year. But generally speaking, you don't win a cup unless you have a top 5 pick or a couple of them in their prime. That's just it. So if you actually want to win a cup, I'm kind of where Red is. Like, you have to start tearing this down. If you just want to be competitive and say, hey, it's a crazy tournament, anything can happen, bring this team back. But don't tell us you're trying to win a cup. No one wins a cup without those foundational pieces.
It is draft day. We are here in Nashville, our draft week coverage here in the Tower Chrysler studio. If you want to maybe go out tonight and sit with the fellas, sit with your buddies and watch the draft, why not Mad Rose Pub? Mad Rose Pub, 15 Royal Vista Place. Daily specials. That pizza, the dough, it's fresh every day. Sauce, they're whipping that stuff up in the kitchen fresh every day. This food is spectacular. The environment is awesome. Great people. We can't recommend it enough. Mad Rose Pub, 15 Royal Vista Place. We got to go for. Well, we went.
We were up 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had some pizza. You got to have the pizza.
Yeah, have to have the wings.
God, you got to have and then you got to have the wings.
Fried, then baked, and then you got to get your mains, and then
you got to take some real discipline to get away from the pizza and that on the menu.
Yeah.
Because I want to try the wonton soup. Everyone's talking about the wonton soup, but yet he said, "That's gotta have wings."
And then you wouldn't be out crazy to just eat everything, and then we see Boomer go into a week-long shame spiral when he hammers the whole pie himself. I don't know. It's a tough one to win.
Real world problems, people. We've got real world problems. Madrose.pub is the website. 15 Royal Vista Place. Tell them Pinder sent you, or something like that. Let's do the now again. We're kind of we're here in Nashville. We're at this is swanky. This place.
This is swanky.
Yeah, I mean we're not staying here, but this place is swanky.
I'm surprised they let us in this joint. I don't.
You know where we are, Retro? We are literally we're on Music Row. Sony Music, like the Sony label, is right across the street. RCA, like the classic RCA, where all
recording.
That's down. Chris Stapleton records there. Jason Isbell, huge. It's all just right here. We're can you feel it?
Oh, the energy is amazing.
Hey, you feel it?
You walk around, there's a lot of sunglasses and hangovers and excitement and ringing ears. That's Nashville, right?
You should have seen Seravalli last night at Tootsie's. People love old Frankie boy.
Yeah, why not, right?
Frank Seravalli, hey, Frank, how you doing, Frank? People are loving on Frank.
He's younger than Crosby. I do have to remind people of that.
Yeah, it's not
absolutely horrifying.
Hair color.
Don't know what the hell's happening there.
I tweeted it earlier. Saw LeCavalier at our hotel.
Yeah, you were saying he's still doing okay. He hasn't fallen on hard times yet.
Old whatever Kent Hughes or whatever his name is, was burning up two telephones, doing the Dubas thing in the hallway. And LeCavalier, he looks like he could play right now. Who needs you? Need me? Want me? Because I can play.
Well, they're still paying him. He's not playing.
Jesus Christ!
How many years left on that 1.8?
I looked this morning till 2027.
Oh, son of a bitch! That paid to not work thing.
Oh. Well, and remember, because he got bought out there
twice.
Goes to Philly, gets bought out there. Is being paid by two teams not to play for them.
I believe when he retired, he would have been like right up there for career earnings north of 100 million.
Yeah, I know we looked at it.
Because he was double dipping at one point. I'm maybe even triple dipping at one point. Wild stuff.
Well, it's serving him well. And he can cuss you, right? I was going to go up and say, hey, we played that hit on the show the other day.
Dirty.
Fucking
rude.
Prick.
Dirty hit.
Dirty bastard.
Puck was in. Give us that ring back.
All right. Village Honda presents the Pinder Report. Village Honda. They want to buy your ride. Event continues. If you don't buy theirs, they'll still buy yours. Payment in 24 hours. Top trade-in appraisal, stress-free. And for a limited time, get a family ticket bundle for Cavalry FC. Complimentary appraisal. VillageHonda.com, Northwest Auto Mall, presenting the Pinder Report.
For life. Okay, we start with the big trade yesterday, fellows. Dean and I were just hitting tarmac in Chicago, waiting to taxi into a gate that was taken because O'Hare's O'Hare. And boom, there it was. The Wolverine texted me, there's your Frank bomb. Toffoli out, no surprise. Sharon Govich in, big surprise. Belarusian just turned 25 in the last month and has had a very mixed bag of results. The high water mark 2 seasons ago, a 24-goal campaign on a line with Jack Hughes. We heard from Frank on it. Rhett, just initial reactions or any sort of, have you tried to use all the letters in his last name to spell out something else? Like, what do we think about
this? What was the nickname? I've got a nickname for him yet? Yeah.
No nickname yet. At first, I didn't like it, but I see the reasoning behind it.
Yeah. Talking with Craig Button and Frank last night, there was a thought that, if you just wanted picks, you might be able to get pick 29, 30, 31, 32, something like that. But the Flames clearly like this player and would prefer this package to the theoretical one that I just laid out there. And that has people in obviously different emotions about it. How you feel about Igor Sharangovich is probably how you feel about this deal. He is not a finished product, known entity. Well, here's what he's doing for you next year. It's very much up in the air. He was taken off the power play last season. He was down, 2 minutes of time on ice a game.
And it's one of those things too. I have a hard time believing anybody would see Sharangovich in a third and not have to go and Google numbers and data on Sharangovich and then make their decision whether or not the player is good or not.
Especially out of conference, right? You saw the guy twice in the fall in a third line role. That's it if you're a Flames fan.
This is very much a get to Calgary, see where you fit in, and see what you are. They love his size and his speed and his shot. Every team will say that when they pick up a player. for me, it's truly a reserve judgment until we see the player.
Yeah. If you have a grade handed out on this trade, you know more than we do because you've got a crystal ball that tells us what he looks like in Flames. So clearly the Flames think he's more than the 13-goal campaign he put last year. And from the Devils' perspective, this just makes a ton of sense. They're clearing up space. They just got Timo Meier inked, and Toffoli is a guy that for 1 year gives them some finishing, an area they were good at creating chances last year, but not great at finishing them.
And they got another pick. They'll pick again tomorrow. They've got it's their picks. If you were saying yesterday, if they want an offer sheet, I think that's highly unlikely.
You want conspiracies, right? You love conspiracies.
Yeah.
I do.
Ear lights and these guys. This is the Illuminati. You wanted conspiracy theories, Retro. The Flames, you can't offer sheet with someone else's picks. They get their own third back. So clearly, huge offer sheet in the works. Don't know who.
Cannot confirm that bullshit. Cannot confirm that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, we're light on the Pinder report. Let's get to some dumb stuff. We have some Rhett stuff. Now, Rhett's dog. We've seen a bunch of his cats lately. This is. I didn't realize you let your dog watch TV. I know you're pretty firm with your children on screen time, but your dog, you're okay with that?
Yeah, I think it's good for him. Calms him down.
Good boy. Yeah.
Let's have a look here.
On top of the dough and use your body weight to push the dough
he's kneading
into itself. Use a scraper to pull the dough off the
can't
board.
be good for the cushion, Rhett. But interesting, you would let your dog watch cooking shows. That's good stuff.
Put him to work.
In the age.
Yeah.
Is this in?
I thought didn't cats need? Don't cats need?
Yeah, to stimulate milk from the mother's teeth.
There's a throwback.
Okay. Rhett's in Saskatoon.
Yeah,
beautiful lake country around there, Dean. You know that.
I do. Yeah.
And we have
How are the bugs? How are the skitters?
They weren't bad last night, but
any wasps or black flies or aphids?
No, it's not black fly season. Yeah,
fucking horse flies, man.
They bite.
They're the worst.
Nasty son of a bitch.
You guys have horse flies? Hey, Betway, you know what horse flies are? Do you have big black? Oh, they're the worst.
They don't sting. They don't poke. They bite.
They
it's a
fucking
chomp.
Take a chunk right out of you. Yeah, they
little bastards.
Yeah, the Betway guys are here. Retro.
Looking at you like, what are these idiots talking about? Yeah.
No, they were putting on an inside.
They were putting on a good show last night.
Clinic, yeah. Until knackered is the term I got.
Yeah.
Well, but very friendly guys. I think they helped close down Tootsie's last night.
Yeah, they
putting
did.
The chairs up on the table, wiping down the bars. I mean, they were there right at the end helping the staff.
Yeah.
Rhett. This is
Nice.
phenomenal. Yeah. No, there's lots of lakes out there. This is exclusive footage of you and the shoveler getting that jet ski in the lake. Let's have a look at this.
Oh.
Now, which is this McPhee? What lake is this? I know Reggie's up there. That's his lake?
Christopher, yeah.
She's driving. Okay, we got you in. We're good.
Oh,
and then,
no.
Oh no, it's not in park. Shovelerina, what are you doing? No.
Oh, see, that's a Honda. You have to take that to Vince.
Oh.
And Rhett, look at you just beside yourself there.
So,
oh dear.
What's the driver doing?
Oh, look at the bubbles. And now the wipers come on. Fuck.
Look at the wiper. Yeah, and Rhett,
Rhett, all you can do is do laps and yell at the shovel. I'm sorry. I know that's tough on your relationship when that happens.
That's a bad
making waves.
That can ruin your day at the lake, Retro.
I was making waves, trying to push it back in.
Yeah.
Oh.
What an idiot.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that's a good boat launch. That's deep. That's deep in a hurry.
Deep.
That's what you look at that.
Oh, Rhett. I'm sorry, bud.
For those that are not watching, some idiot was putting their jet ski into the water.
Just left it in reverse, yeah.
And look, that Pilot, CRV, Honda Pilot, maybe just completely underwater. I'll tell you what, there's some great videos online of people of like fails, people trying to back their boats and shit in.
Yeah.
I could watch it for days. And it's it's so stressful when you're doing it because you know you got the eyeballs on you. You're like, okay, so it's reverse. How do I go the other way? No, fuck. Put it into drive. Pull up. Oh, try it again. Head back. Nope, got to do it again. And then you're totally psyched out.
One of my favorite moves is there's a little beach by the launch where we have a family cabin, and it's like May long, everything comes in, Labor Day, everything out. Turn the seats around from looking at the lake right to the launch and just crack the beer and be like, all right,
so
buddy,
good.
see what you got.
Yeah, it's so good. And then you'll see somebody that is really good at it.
Yeah.
Oh, golf clap. Well done. Very well done. Nice job.
6-0.
Yeah. What do you got are you going to the lake? What are you doing?
Yep, heading there right as soon as we're done.
You got a boat up there?
I do. I have 3 boats out there, and they happen to be mine.
Is that right?
I see. Does everyone in your family agree with that? I feel like some of them maybe like what?
I guess
the law. What is
possession? Yeah, possession. There might be a statute of limitations or whatever the hell it's called.
What's how's DUG at backing the boat into the
DUG could do it in his sleep.
Yeah,
blindfold him.
Just a little slider right in there. Not surprised. Yeah.
That's it for a light Pinder report. We'll have a lot
good
tomorrow based on round 1 tonight, and I have fingers crossed and high hopes, but I'm ready to be heartbroken.
I can tell you're heartbroken already because I can
fucking draft class. There's been 11 picks moved, and the Flames haven't found a way to get one more measly fucking pick.
Red, I don't know if you heard, but Pinder is quite fond of this year's draft class.
Is it it's a good draft class in his opinion?
Yeah, apparently he's a very good draft class.
So is it better to have an average pick out of this draft pack or an exceptional pick out of next year's?
That's a good question, and that's where your scouting department would be like, here are the levels, here are the tiers, this is where it drops off. Where are you? I did ask on our draft show that we ran yesterday, Byron Bader of Hockey Prospecting and Joel Henderson from FC Hockey, where Wright and Slavkovsky would go. That was the first and third picks in last year's draft. They both sort of thought that late single digits into the teens. Yeah. So that's just the top. I don't know how different 25-25 would be, but last year's top 3 picks might have slid into the teens this year. That says something.
Where are you guys? Are you going down to? Are you going to go watch from the Bridgestone, or where are you guys? Or the pub?
We got credential.
Yeah, I think we'll go.
We got the little hangy lanyard thing. We may as well.
Yeah,
I would be crushed by the time I think I thought it might be a lot like the game that we went to that one year, Boom, or maybe
Nashville.
Overindulge in the afternoon and not make it.
I was there. Yeah, I woke up on the shitter and the game was on the TV. It was in the second intermission. I hustled down and caught the third period there. Did you show up to that one? It was LA. You didn't show up.
LA, I missed.
Yeah. And the problem was we'd finished the show and Rhett said, okay, I know this band playing. We'll just go for one set at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
That one set ended at about 14, 15 hours later.
Yeah, Broadway starts at about 10 a.m. Live bands.
Shiner Box were cold.
Actually, and you know what? Yesterday, Rhett, we Pinder and I did a little thing about the trade at the same hotel where we stayed at when we came through and we did the show, where Pinder didn't show up for that either, if you remember.
No, I showed up and was slurring and didn't know the final scores from the night before, and then promptly vomited in the main floor washroom.
Yeah,
so
like there's where we were set up for the show you didn't do, and there's the bathroom where you honked and trying to find your credit card.
We could do a little tour of that if you want. That could be a really, like, these little walking, here we are, and this is the historic building here, and this university here, that the Columbus, we could do one of those.
Much like the same thing, much like Music Row, you can just feel it. It's like, man, this is where Pinder puked.
Yeah. This is the place where I lost my credit card and
so great.
Got tossed from that place right before that. Okay, good.
Got that picture of you from the bowling alley somewhere.
Really?
Somewhere. Pinder is in full cowboy regalia minus a hat, but he's got a Western
vintage
shirt,
Western shirt,
jeans, boots, and he is knackered, passed out on a chair at a bowling alley.
Holding the chair down. Just make sure it didn't run away on us. I think we summarized it that next morning in one of the greatest awful shows we've ever done, that you had come to the conclusion that Nashville simply reincarnates people to their 17-year-old self. We were all just 17-year-olds with fake ID that night. It was quite something.
Oh yeah, it was hall pass.
Yeah,
it was full. So there you go. That was the Pinder report. Hearing loss clinic. Talking to Rhodes. I don't know if you wouldn't have seen it, Retro. I went to the hearing loss. We had the thing on the show the other day.
Good video.
Hearing aids.
Coming in hot.
Getting some hearing aids.
Are you?
Yeah. I am a candidate for hearing aids.
Tell them what your wife texted.
Oh yeah, my wife texted me. The woman I live with.
Your roommate is something. That's good
my
stuff
roommate.
Yeah.
So you go in there and we're shooting the things. Yeah, you can also go through the whole song and dance. This is how it works, and this is what the low end frequencies you're still good with, but it's the higher end frequencies that you kind of struggle with, and you would be a candidate for this. Like, oh, really? Okay, well. Suffice to say, she was not surprised. She's like, yeah, like, of course you do. Like, is this surprising to you?
Well,
Sorry to be so abrupt, but you had to know that you were going to be getting this.
Been telling you this for years.
So
can you not hear me?
I'll tell you what, it's great to have. I mean, I'm kind of joking around about it, but there's something about ignorance being bliss. Like, oh, I didn't hear you. What were you? Oh, no, I didn't hear you. Fewer excuses now. Hearingloss.ca, 9 locations, 4 in Calgary. Men and women of all ages, and of course, children can suffer from hearing loss. Serious health risks have been linked to untreated hearing loss. Of course, we're having some fun with it, but I tried these things on and it was instant. You see those videos, right? Where like a baby or somebody gets them and they turn them on and you can see their face light up. I get it because I have been missing a whole lot. Go and have your assessment done. Cranbrook, Creston, Fernie, Golden, and Invermere in BC. And as I mentioned, they have 4 in the city of Calgary. Hearingloss.ca is the website. There you see their social media stuff. They're always doing stuff in the community. Great spot. Travis Rhodes and everybody over at the Hearing Loss Clinic. Great people, and can't recommend them enough. So get out and do make it. I see it. You go to the dentist, get your eyes looked at, get your ears done.
You can't see well, you go get glasses. Can't hear well, get it figured out.
Nap time?
Are we disappointed?
Oh. We aren't overwhelmed with, oh my God, this was better than we thought it was going to be. I'll tell you that.
The indication, to me, it's the Lindholm indicators that, well, we're really trying to make this work. And again, you feel like an ass saying it because everyone loves Lindholm as a player. It's not that you don't want him on your team. It's that you're frightened of what's to come.
You don't want 6 35-year-olds making more money than they're worth, eating up all your cap while you don't pick in the top 10 for 5 years. That's what you don't want. We haven't talked about this all. I think it's just an interesting thought that what is in the Flames right with Elias Lindholm? Like, would it be fair to say, Elias, we would like to have a firm answer by 7 p.m. Eastern when the draft begins, or whatever the time is? Like, is that a reasonable ask, or do you think, given how much they like him, and really, I don't think it'd be competitive without him?
That's how you get into these situations where you pussyfoot around. It happened with Giordano. Yeah. It happened with Iggy. At some point, it's business.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, shouldn't they have clarity before the draft? Is that not unreasonable?
Should have been this morning.
Yeah, today, and maybe it is. We don't know. Connie's not going to necessarily come out publicly with timelines, but I just feel like if we're a month down the road and they're waiting for his answer, is that not a misplay by the GM? Shouldn't you know by now? This is where you can really turn an asset into futures.
Well, to Frank's point, it depends on what you are getting. You don't know that till it happens, right? Maybe it's not a misplay because Conroy has the offers in front of him. And he's like, well, what the hell difference does it make? So. Yeah.
It just feels like they're waiting for him to say yes or no. It's not like they're not deciding whether to trade him or not. He's going to pick whether they trade him or not, it sounds like.
Yeah, that sure does sound that way. And you'd be damn well pissed off if you were that fly on the wall and they did wait till August to trade him or whatever. And you find out, oh, yeah, there was a pick in the 10 to 20 of this year's draft. What? That stinks.
Like, that's not asking too much of the player, is it? You don't worry that you're scaring him into not staying. Like,
what's the player of giving him the player waiting for? What are the indicators the player needs? If the money's right and you've played in that city for the last 4 or 5, what are you waiting for?
Cap's going up, right? Like, that's the one thing. Is the cap is going up.
But again, you know your value.
Yeah, the whole deal lays it out. There's a small little window that deal's going to fall in. We know it's a max term deal. The only thing Elias Lindholm doesn't know is if this team's going to be good next year. And I'll give him that as a.
You're basing your next 8 years of your career.
Well, I would think if they're going to
part of it,
he's like, are they rebuilding this thing, or are we going to be competitive? And that's a question that you could ask and not get a firm answer on. To be honest, like, they want to be good, but
the agents know, right? You're Elias Lindholm. You're in that room.
You're
a leader on the team. Like, are we going to be good next year? Like,
Well, what do you know?
They're probably fight for the playoff spot. Try and sneak into a playoff spot.
I just mean, like, if Noah Hannafin goes for 4 picks and no players versus here's a 23-year-old rising defenseman, you're like, okay.
Yeah,
I would
But
might
even
feel
if
differently about the direction of the team.
I think you're basing too much on what the Hannafin thing. Lindholm knows the city. He knows the team. He knows if he re-signs, he's got a pretty good indicator of what the team's going to be like. I don't think the team's success next year is locked in on whether Noah Hannafin was going to stay or not, right? Sure, he's a big piece of it, but like we just said, if Noah Hannafin's gone, whatever you bring in return either fills that hole
they're
or
not playing a
brings
man short.
you're going to go find a defenseman to chew up some minutes.
Yeah, and I think it's reasonable for him to have had his mind made up by now, but I certainly do think he could say, I don't know if I trust this GM or not. I don't know if I trust this coach or not. He'd probably have inclination, but
then you're gone.
Yeah,
then you're gone. Right? Yeah. Like if you don't trust the GM, you don't trust the coach, you have your answer. Again, you still have your answer. Go. Bye.
And if you truly in your heart can't give an answer, you have to respect.
That's an answer.
You have to respect it if the team trades you.
Of course.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't give them an answer. I have to understand they did what's best for them.
But the underpinnings of that, Dean, are that him not giving an answer is an answer.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. To a certain extent, it is, for sure.
And so I guess what are your expectations on the timeline for this? It doesn't feel like Connie has one.
I think they should announce as a contract. Can they do it today, or does it have to wait till July 1st?
You could certainly behind closed doors agree to terms, but you can't officially sign anyone until July 1. A press release would be July 1 if they were going to re-sign him.
Okay.
Boy, we were really excited about the rebuild last Friday, weren't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things have changed.
If they'd let us run shit, then
we could give you the dozen years of sadness like Buffalo easily. We could do that, right?
Iggy.
This is sadness. This is
the peak sadness.
There's still time. There's still time. The draft's a few hours away. We can fix this thing. Hey, before we go, let's do
Betway.
Let's do those Betway bets of the day.
Those boys are looking a little tired. A little caffeine for the fellas.
There it is.
All that help cleaning up the bar last night.
Draft coverage in Nashville. Our partners at Betway taking care of us, taking care of you. Get that Betway app on your phone. Play along. Bet the responsible way with Betway.
And our boy Jay as well wanted us to give a shout out to AMA Travel, who helped us get down as well. So big shouts to AMA Travel.
I don't know who Jay is.
Yeah, well, it's the guy that signs your checks. You should probably get to know him. Okay, let's get to I was looking at the draft picks. We had a bunch of over-unders on guys in the draft, and we're looking good. Some of those numbers have moved. We've got a lot of ASP exposure going before pick 15. That's now even money. We got in on that plus 40. I don't like any of what's left because I've been dancing on those for a week. How about this? Connor McDavid to win the Hart next year? You're going to let these knackered fools money for a year, but even money for Connor to win a Hart? Are you fucking kidding me? Let's go.
I trust them.
They'll pay you. You just got to wait a while.
Just don't.
You're not going to get a payout on the Hart Trophy until they give out the Hart Trophy in a year.
Yeah.
In Vegas. We're going to that?
Yep.
You guys going to be here in Vegas next year? Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
Let's
he
do
was
it.
saying he's not been to Vegas.
Oh, fuck.
It's like it's a little louder, a little brighter.
Yeah, they got more staff. You won't have to help clean up the bar either. A little shinier.
Yeah.
Plus 100. It's even money, baby. Love that for Connor to win the Hart next year.
There you go. Betway Bets. Betway app. Get it on your phone. Ontario 19 or over.
Got the responsible way.
Get the responsible way.
Let's go.
With Betway. We're out of here. Oilers guys are coming in. It's the rotating studio here in Nashville. So we are out. We'll be at Bridgestone Arena for round 1 tonight. Anything happens, we'll be able to go live with emergency press conferences.
We did an emergency pod last night, poolside on the 27th floor bar. That was cool.
And if Conroy or whomever has something to say, we'll do our best to be there and have that for you. Tomorrow, back here at 10:30 Mountain Time. Again, not the half hour later than the usual start time.
Now, how's your Russian? When they trade up to 5 with Montreal to get Mishkov, you're going to be...
Très bien.
Okay. Bueno.
Très bien. So off to the lake, Retro. Sunscreen, please, on your big upper body there.
Vitamin D is good for you, folks.
Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. That's going to do it. Have yourselves a fine day, everybody. See you, buddies.
See you tomorrow from the Shag Room.